the Schmo with the pro, with the living legend, the icon, the podcaster, the former boxing coach, the sportscaster, Teddy Atlas in the flesh. Fight Day, UFC 272, Las Vegas, Nevada. How we doing?
Good. Here in Las Vegas with you. That's a good thing. I see these shoes that you got on. They're nice. Is that your own brand? I mean, they really look cool.
Appreciate that. Custom made for the Schmo, but not as nice as your tie. You're just doing a Sports Center hit, maybe an ESPN ABC hit with Stephen A. Smith. You go from Stephen A. Smith to the Schmo. Quite a contrast.
Yeah, two good people and know how to do television, and people that I'm glad to be talking to because they are decent people. See, I have a thing. I have a rule. Bad people, stay away from. Good people, hang out with them. And Stephen A. is a good person. From what I've learned about you, you're okay.
We appreciate that. Now talk to the Schmo for a second, because we've been watching you all week. We've been seeing you on the broadcast. You've been saying that when it comes down to the big dance, to the big fight, especially when it comes to Covington versus Jorge Masvidal, 75% of it is going to be mental. We've seen the face-offs. We've seen the press conferences. They've gone face-to-face. When it's all said and done, the big fight is tonight. Who's got the edge mentally between the two of them?
I'm going to say, they're both tough mentally. But I'm going to go on the advantage of Masvidal because, first of all, he's shown that he can control his emotions. He's been there already. When he fought Askren, last I remember, they didn't love each other. Or they had some animosity there too. Maybe that was sort of a dress rehearsal for this, a practice run, because Masvidal controlled his emotions. He was very cerebral, and he had a plan. He went out there in a calculating way. He knew that Askren would look to shoot because that's his strength, that's his comfort zone. Look to shoot to get him on the floor to the mat because he's a great wrestler. Masvidal is not a great wrestler, but I give him credit. Masvidal is a good escape artist. Maybe even better than good. He showed that with Usman. He's shown that in the past. And sometimes it's just as important to survive so you can advance. Survive where you're not good, where it's not your thing, and then get it to where it is your thing. Masvidal would be get it to the striking. But again, against Askren, he understood that he showed himself a little too prematurely when he would go for that shoot. He planned for it. It was magnificent. It was brilliant. And it meant that he could control his emotions. He could take, when the moment came, he could put it all aside and he could be calm, cerebral, the way he had, and have a strategy and execute that strategy. He knew that he would show himself. He wanted to set him up. So what did he do? He wanted to show him on his legs, Masvidal did, where he would think that he had a chance to shoot because he was moving laterally, where he wouldn't be set to punch. So he's moving laterally. Askren read that. He said, okay, here's a good spot to come in and shoot. He started to lean a little bit, and then Masvidal was ready for it. He took 3 steps, bang, with that flying knee, 5 seconds, set the record for knockout. Again, he's already shown me in an emotional place he can be cool, calm, collected.
There it is, in that mural of the knee connecting with the skull of Ben Askren. It's hanging on the wall of American Top Team. Now, Teddy, what draws the Schmo to this sport is the best always fight the best in the UFC. 100%. But this is always a business. Now, last week, Islam Makhachev, he obviously beat Bobby Green. Late replacement. But Dana White kind of left the door open that not necessarily Islam Makhachev isn't going to be fighting the winner of Justin Gaethje and Oliveira. And that leads the Schmo to believe there might be an opportunity for a guy like Conor McGregor to slide right in there. Now, this guy, Conor McGregor, has not won a fight at 155 pounds in years. But would it be outrageous to you if Dana White and the UFC brass gave Conor McGregor an immediate title shot when he returned to the UFC?
Listen, let's not forget, sometimes movies can sort of illustrate real life. They can frame up with real life. The Godfather. Remember when that old man said, it's not personal, it's business. It's about making money. Dana White's a great businessman. He's taken this brand and he's grown it immensely. You got to give him credit for that. And he didn't do that by thinking emotionally about always, what was maybe fair for the moment. He was thinking about what was right for the moment for the business to grow, the brand to grow. And that means putting on the most exciting fights, which they've done, much better than boxing, the most competitive fights. They've done it week to week in an extraordinary way. But you still have to have your superstars. You still, people are still going to go, if you put a Spider-Man 22 out, they're going to go watch it. It's still going to sell out theaters. So you still got to have, those characters. Those guys with the charisma, those special guys that have talent, but they also explode on the ring. They explode on the scene, and Conor McGregor is one of those rare guys. And if it means that it will be better for the brand for that moment, to spotlight him, that's where the business takes over from the personal stuff, And I think that's understandable. I know it's about, we all want to do what's fair. In our hearts, if we're decent people. And these guys earn it. They earn it the hard way. They earn the opportunity getting in that octagon, in that cage where you might not come out of there the same way as you went in there. I get it. I get all that for you guys out there already looking to grab my words and do whatever you're going to do with them. But, again, if you were running a shop and you wanted the till to be full of this kind of stuff, it's money, by the way, I think you might, be fair, put yourself in the shoes, you might think about the same thing. And then get back to the guys that, that have earned it by doing what they do in the ring or in the octagon.
Well, speaking of big money, all week, the pound-for-pound king in the UFC, Kamaru Usman, he's been doubling down on this Canelo Alvarez boxing conversation, talking about fighting him in the fall, actually getting in the ring and boxing him, pound-for-pound in boxing versus pound-for-pound in the UFC. Do you give Usman a better shot at doing this than, let's say, a Conor McGregor against a Floyd Mayweather? Or how do you feel about all this, Teddy?
The one thing, listen, it's to make money. I might be here, sometimes wearing a tie and a suit, and which is only when I'm working, and you're wearing this beautiful outfit when you're working. But that doesn't mean that outside of that, we're not thinking all the time. That we're not thinking in a practical way, in a real world, The real world, it is about business, and part of the business for a guy like Usman is to get more money. He risks himself the way he risks himself. It's about trying to find a way, and the way is open your mouth sometimes. Sometimes it's to yell and to say these kind of things, and whether they're completely realistic or not, to put yourself in a place where you can make more money, you can get closer to the exit door. If we're going to be honest about it, this is a tough business. My business, boxing, and the UFC business. Again, I said it earlier, you go in that octagon, you go in that ring, you don't come out the same sometimes, and a lot of times. And so you want to get closer to the exit door. That means you want to make as much money as you can to get to that exit door. If you didn't think that way, you'd be crazy. You should go and, get another CAT scan, which the fighters do have to get, a lot of them. But get another one to see why you're not thinking, why you want to get out of the business when you can. I know you want to have a legacy, you want to prove things, you want to accomplish, of course, but you also want to make enough money to take care of your family, all the things you want to do, and be able to go on with your life and get to a safer place. And Usman, if he does a crossover fight with Canelo, it's a lot more money than he could ever make in UFC. It's not a knock on either sport. It's just a fact. You're talking about the golden goose of boxing right now. The guy, the Bambino, the Sotno Swat, like in that movie Sandlot. This is you want to, if you can fight freaking Canelo and you can have a shot at it by saying some things like that, why not?
Why not?
But as far as the reality, he can punch. All right, he's got a good right hand. He's got power. He's strong. He's tough. He's got a good chin. All those things. Those things bode well for him. Obviously, talking about Usman, but the chances of him surviving in that fight are minimal. I mean, in reality, not knocking him. It's not his sport. You know, he hasn't. He'll find those guys. He'll find Canelo not only better in certain ways offensively than some of the guys he's fighting in the UFC, or more consistent offensively in their repertoire and deeper in their repertoire of punches, but their defense. That's a big difference. That they're a little harder to hit. And then you miss them, you get hit. So it's obviously it's a different world, but I understand it. I understand why he would, and I understand why Ngannou would be looking to fight Fury. Same thing. Ngannou's chances would be minimal. And he's a big, strong guy. Does he have a puncher's chance? Yeah. But to land against a guy like Fury, who's been dodging punches against the best his whole career, his whole life, makes it a lot harder. Makes it less chance that he could do that. You could have the greatest punch in the world. My mentor, Customato, used to say, Teddy, remember, having the bomb, having a military weapon is kind of like having a punch. But you have to have a means to convey it to the target. If you don't have a means to get it to the target, that military weapon, that bomb, that punch, what's it going to do? I mean, if it's a bomb, it's going to make a hole in the ground, he used to say to me, and then when it rains, you could go swimming. You could go swimming. You'd have to take this off.
Schmo likes to swim.
Yeah, and you'd be having a good time because it'd be a big hole. But, again, he doesn't, Ngannou having the power, it would sell the fight. People would come clamoring. They'd say, oh, yeah, big, strong guy, he's going to kill Fury. But the reality is a little bit different. But, again, you understand why he would want that fight, because he'll never make that kind of money, ever. And in UFC. And, again, and it's not knocking UFC. I mean, they make big money. But when you're talking about a crossover fight, again, you're talking about something that doesn't come around that often that can sell.
Additional revenue streams.
Yeah, it's just it's a whole different thing. I mean, as you mentioned, Conor McGregor and Mayweather. I mean, the money that was made there, one guy made, close to $300 million, another guy made maybe $120 million that night. I mean, those numbers don't make sense, except it made sense because you brought those together and you captured the imagination of the public.
Well, you brought up Tyson Fury. Earlier this week, he was saying in his press conference that after this Dillian White fight, that he's going to retire. And if the Gypsy King indeed retires, we don't get the Francis Ngannou super fight. Where do you rank the Gypsy King among the all-time heavyweight boxing greats if he does indeed retire, assuming he gets past Dillian White, who's no slouch?
No, Dillian White's a strong guy, aggressive, who can punch, goes to the body well, maybe take the wheels away from Fury if he decides to move. Fury has shown that he's dimensional, though. He can come get you, as he showed in his last two fights, obviously against Wilder, or he can box like he did in the first fight against Wilder, and he did most of his career. So he can do a lot in that ring and mix it up, and that makes him tougher. As far as Fury, as far as Tyson Fury retiring or fighting, is that what you're fighting his next fight?
If he gets through Dillian White and he retires undefeated, where does he rank among the all-time greats in the sport of boxing?
He's been around long enough. I mean, what he's done is tremendous with what's there. But you need longevity to really have that kind of legacy when you're talking about the Joe Lewis's, 20 years. I can't even remember how many title defenses, 20-something. When you're talking, even Larry Holmes, he was up there in title defense. But when you're talking about the Muhammad Ali's, when you're talking, about the Jack Johnson's first black heavyweight champion of all time, special guy, back in the 20s, when you're talking about these kind of fighters with that kind of history, with that kind of longevity, and having fought that caliber, so many for so long. Again, you can let your heart go crazy and say, yeah, because he's around during your time. So you'd say, yeah, he's my guy. He's around during my time. Those other guys weren't around during my time. So I'm voting for him. He's the guy. I'm voting. But it's not fair. Because if you're going to do it in a fair way, you got to look at the other guys that weren't around when you were around, that you didn't get to see, you didn't get to appreciate quite the history they had, and those guys are there. And so I don't know. Does he go in the? I don't know that he goes in the top 10, and then that's going to get a lot of my brothers and sisters across the pond over there, the Brits. I love you guys. They're going to put a picture of me back, which they took it down on the dartboard because they play darts over there a lot. And they took it down and they sent it to me, actually. I loved them for that. They're going to probably put it back up that I'm not going to make that guy in the top 10. But again, put your emotions aside, just like Masvidal's going to have to do tomorrow night, or tonight actually. Put your emotions aside and think of it as just, in a cold, calculating, honest way. Those other guys have been around a lot longer, done it a lot longer, with a lot better fighters. I know that Fury did it with a great puncher, and he beat him twice. He might have beat him 3 times. He knocked him out twice. I know that. I know that he also beat a guy that was a champion a long time in Klitschko. He was 40-something years old, though. But so I look at it all. But he hasn't had the body of work to be called one of the greats yet. Can you call him one of the great British fighters? British, that's a different question. Yeah, you can start to delve into there. That's a little different. One of the greatest British heavyweight champs of all time, up there with Lennox Lewis. Even though Lewis did it a lot longer, but obviously with Frank Bruno and different guys who are more of the modern era. You can go back even further. But yeah, that would be more fair.
Final message for all the Teddy Atlas fans out there worldwide.
I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate you all, even when you disagree with me a little bit. I like decent people, and I think we all do. And I appreciate them more and more now, because sometimes when you look around what's going on, you're not having enough people care about each other.
A man of much wisdom. We really appreciate your time, Mr. Teddy Atlas, the living legend. He's the pro. I'm the Schmo. Las Vegas, Nevada. We're out.